Hey, so I want to talk about the concept of hard work because I think for a lot of people, the idea of hard work is a bad one. It's kind of like a big blob of an idea that seems negative and that therefore you feel resistance to. And I just wanted to talk about this concept because that phrase hard work means different things to different people. And I think when something is sort of a big blob and it's not really been picked apart for you, so that you can figure out how you actually think about it, and you just say, I don't want to work hard. And that just sort of like becomes a thing for everything that you think about manifesting. I think that big blob is just sort of like an unknown, and there is just nothing that humans hate more than the unknown. So, even people that seem like they love diving into the unknown, their way of handling the unknown is a known to them. Their personality is a known to them. It's every person hates this, the devil they don't know. It's built into the machine. And so when you take a big idea and break it down into its little parts, then poof, the resistance is gone and you understand yourself better. And next time you are faced with a thought that you're trying to change, or you're trying to manifest something and working your way through it mentally, however you do that, maybe you're just imagining a future and trying to have a deliberate intention to create something, and then you just get a yucky feeling in your stomach or your heart area or your head or somewhere, and you don't really know why. That's resistance, and it's almost always from some aspect of the unknown. So I wanted to talk about hard work because I feel like I'm somebody who has in multiple areas done what most people, if they were looking from the outside in, would say was a lot of hard work to get the things I have. But the thing is that hasn't been my experience, because I think when most people think about hard work, the way that's being translated is I'm working until I'm exhausted and that feels horrible. And like while I'm working, I feel like I don't want to be doing it. Whereas the actual experience of being involved in the process of creating something that you want, while it could look like hard work to other people, you've almost certainly experienced something like that in the way that you would experience it moving forward with a manifestation if you were coming from the right place. You've almost certainly at some point in your life been so involved in something that you spent a whole bunch of time doing it, maybe a whole bunch of physical energy doing it. But if you look around at your life right now, maybe, or maybe sometime in the past, there's something where somebody who wasn't interested in doing what you were doing would look at what you were doing and say, wow, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of effort. That's a lot of energy. Almost everybody can relate to that. Something that you're into. Maybe you have to go back to being a kid for this, but maybe there was something you were so into, you spent all your time doing it, even if it was video games or something like that. It doesn't have to be something big and important. It's just something where, you can look at something you did and say, somebody who didn't want to be doing what I was doing probably would have thought that seemed awful, right? So this idea that people have of hard work being necessary to get something they want, I think they confuse a mental state with a physical active state. And they conflate these two things, and then they become averse to the idea, the benign idea of what your physical body and mind will be doing in the process of getting this manifestation. That becomes like something to resist, when really the only thing that matters in this process of getting from point A to point B is where you're coming from mentally. Because if you're coming from the right place mentally, you might do the exact same series of events and love every second of it. Like you can't get it done fast enough. You can't wake up early enough to start doing it. Trust me on this, because so much of my business, so much of building my business, and to this day even, has been like manual, menial type of tasks. Things that if it weren't like barreling towards this seemingly inevitable positive outcome that I was creating, if I were doing the work I did for someone else, it would have been absolute drudgery. I would have hated it. If I were doing many of the things I do now for somebody else and I were getting paid, even a good hourly rate, even if I were getting paid, say, $50 an hour to do it for someone else, it wouldn't have the same feeling, because it's the stuff that I'm doing for my manifestation gets me out of bed in the morning. And that's because it's specific to me, my personality, and what it is that I've been creating for the last couple decades in this area. That's just an example of, really, I think, sort of a basic example of actual work. But this idea of, somebody looking at my business and seeing what I do, and people have left comments about this too, like, I don't want to do that. I promise you don't want to do what I'm doing, because it's for me and my manifestation. Whatever the thing is that you're going to create in your life, if it requires you to do a whole bunch of things to get there, and you know that the end result is going to be that you get the thing that you want, and if this whole thing is really right for you and feels right for you, you're not going to be able to get through to that stuff. You're not going to be able to get yourself to that stuff to get it done fast enough. I promise. The things that make things seem like hard work are you're not doing what you want to be doing, first and foremost, and just sort of the wrong attitude. It's the attitude that makes all the difference in this. And I think another thing is it's not a forced fake attitude. It's a true, correct alignment towards the thing you're trying to get. The reason I think, hard work also, that phrase, I think is, it generally, outside of the manifestation community, has a positive connotation, because people who are, people that have a work ethic, are rightfully, I think, admired, because, look, a person with a good work ethic can do a whole bunch of work that produces no result. We know that. I'm sure plenty of people have seen it. But the majority of people that have a work ethic, meaning what a work ethic really is, I would rather spend my time doing something productive. I don't want to, it's not appealing to me to basically do nothing all the time. So even if I have all the money in the world, sitting here 7 days a week doing nothing just isn't appealing. I would like to spend my time creating something, doing something, using, my mental and physical faculties to produce something or change something or whatever. That's basically what it means to have a work ethic. But it's not just the work ethic that brings about the results for these people that, has caused this whole idea of a work ethic to be admired. It's that along with that type of attitude are other attitudes, that generally produce a good outcome. And that's why generally people think of working hard gets you somewhere. Working hard without the right attitude doesn't get you somewhere. But usually a willingness to work hard is also a willingness to be open to things. It's a willingness to admit you're wrong and change directions. It's a willingness to be positive. It comes along with other attitudes, and the entirety of those things taken together creates a positive outcome. It creates generally what the person is trying to make happen. So this idea of hard work being something to resist, if it's limited to the idea of struggle, if I just touch my face, it turns red. The idea of, it being struggle, toil, stuff like that. I don't want to struggle and toil to get something. That is absolutely correct. Struggle and toil can be a part of a successful manifestation. They don't prevent you, in my opinion, from getting somewhere. In fact, no, that's not just it's my experience, not my opinion. because I tend to have, I tend to slip into sometimes a state of scarcity, lack, fear, and then I start to work really hard, or I work more, and then I work myself to the point of getting burned out or exhausted before I come to and just say, what am I doing? And then as soon as I like let go of whatever idea, I have to do this, I need to get this much money in for this thing or whatever. As soon as I just go, I don't care, then everything starts working a lot more easily and I have more energy and all of that. I tend to slip into that. So this isn't just my opinion that you can get somewhere even if you have periods of slipping into toil and struggle. And then that leads to burnout often, I think. But it doesn't need to be a part of it. So resisting the idea of toil and struggle is good. In fact, you don't even have to resist the idea, just decide that that's not going to be a part of it for you. But the idea that you don't want to do anything, I think that is like just wrong for everyone. I think people have an idea that they don't want to do things when actually that's the thing that they actually want the most. You just don't realize it because you think you're going to hate it if you have to do stuff. If doing stuff is part of the manifestation for you. A lot of people haven't experienced, I think, in the work world doing things that they actually want to do. So it's really hard to imagine that you could exist in that state. It's really hard to imagine you could find something where you would want to, be doing stuff. But if you can think about what you really like to do, if you really like to read or you really like to watch, I don't know, what's the last thing that you did where you wanted to like stay up late and you're like, I'm so tired, I have to go to bed. And then you woke up maybe a little too early, but you're like, okay, I got to get up. And like, you remember that you're doing this thing. I've had this with books before. I had this with The Stand by Stephen King. I was like, Gene, I got to leave work early. I'm going home to read The Stand. So that was the last time. So you can have that with a book, but just like any example you could come up with for yourself where you felt that way. Dare to imagine that you could feel that way about something that you're creating for yourself in the work world, in the business world, or in the career field, or whatever way you, are drawn to for making money. Some people want to own a business, and again, like there's a lot of ideas I think that people have about things that aren't an accurate idea of how things actually are. I think some people think having their own business will be the only way to ever have any freedom. I don't think that's the case at all. I just think being open to what that thing will be is very important, because if you form these rigid ideas about the way things have to be, then you really limit your ability to see opportunities that are there, or you limit your ability to have certain experiences. I think, you might not hate working for someone as much as you think you would. I certainly don't think I would like to work for somebody, but I know very well that I have no clue, and that there are certainly jobs that I could have where there was a boss there where, maybe I wouldn't hate it. That may never happen because that might just not be something that's for me, but my mind is always wide open to that kind of stuff, because you just miss so much if you decide, I could never be happy unless XYZ parameters are in place. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make with all of this is, if the hard work issue is something that is a part of your stuck area when it comes to money and career and stuff like that, please open your mind to the idea that you could very happily play a very active physical role doing stuff that other people would consider to be work in this manifestation of getting you to where you want to be. And you will be aware that what you are doing is considered hard work, and you don't care because you want to be doing it. It might be hard for some people to believe that you could actually feel a strong drive and excitement about getting through a whole bunch of tasks, that right now, or that if you were doing it for somebody else, or that if you were doing it in an area that you didn't like, would suck. It's, I think it can be very hard to entertain that idea, but that's what I'm here for. And that's why I'm making a video every day this year, because this video might not have gotten made otherwise. And a whole bunch of crap that would have just rattled around in my brain forever is going to now be out in a format that I otherwise might have thought, this isn't good enough and I'm going to delete it. This year, I don't give a shit for some reason. So I'm just putting all this out there because, man, this is a really important one. I can't imagine if I had that mentality, when I was when I was 23, 24, and I really, if you looked at my life, I think you could consider me to be pretty lazy. I was racking up debt. I wasn't doing much. I was just kind of and I was distracting myself with online games and stuff like that. Cause the internet was still pretty new when I was in my early 20s, very distracting, lots of stuff to just waste your time on, not nearly as much as today, but enough, believe me. And it was new enough that really dumb stuff seemed cool back then. If you looked at me back then, it's just like night and day when it comes to responsibility and stuff like that, just discipline, things like that I developed over the years. But if I had been I want money, but I want to continue to lay around on my couch, wake up at 11 a.m., and just eat garbage all day while playing video games. If that was where I was coming from, God help us all, because nothing would have ever happened. I didn't have a lot of people telling me how I needed to think back then either. Thank God. I just had some books. There were no online forums with a bunch of people at the same unsuccessful level I was, trying to tell me how to live, which is basically the internet now, in these manifesting circles. It's like a whole bunch of people at the same exact unsuccessful level advising each other, which is just so unproductive. Luckily, I just had a few books: Deepak Chopra, The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles, Marianne Williamson, Return to Love, stuff in that area that just sort of opened my mind. And nobody told me, hey, you don't want to work hard for anything. You know what I mean? I was ready and willing to work hard for something that I wanted and to get somewhere I wanted to go. And thank God, because I would not have had this amazing, exhilarating experience of building this business, which was largely successful. And I would say, maybe if I had to put a percentage on it, and it's been especially bad the last 5 years, I would say maybe 5% of the time, 5% of the last 20 years, I spent in just the absolute wrong frame of mind. COVID and world economic situations that I've become a lot more educated about, really, it's made it a lot more difficult to not feel like I've had a lot of feelings over the last few years, I need to work really hard and get ahead as far as I can, because bad things are going to happen and there's a threat to me, and just all kinds of mental ideas that are at just a huge no-no, huge waste of time. They don't produce anything good. And during those times, I've worked harder than I should. I've gotten to the point where I don't have that feeling I want to get out of bed in the morning and get to work and everything. And it's amazing how when you lose that shit, when you put that shit aside, it all comes back. How many people are bogged down by this? I just had a total shift in mentality about work about 3 weeks ago, and returned to how I returned to how I previously was thinking about things. I've fallen in and out of this over the years, but it's just night and day. It took about, I finally just said, I don't care what happens here. I reached that point where I just said, I don't care. You know what? If everything falls apart, who gives a shit? I will find my way through it. I found my way through every other thing. I'm not going to continue to stress out about the state of the world or the state of, especially the economy. I'm not going to continue to assume that bad things are going to happen, or that business is going to decline. Who knows, I just finally said, you know what? I really don't care. I really don't care. I'm going to do what I can in my immediate environment to sort of like insulate myself. And that idea made me feel better. I was like, okay, that'll make me feel a little more secure. Like, if the shit hits the fan, at least I know in the back of my mind that, like, you know, there's the illusion that everything at home will be fine for a while. Who knows? A tornado could rip my house down in the middle of everything and I'd have nothing. And I just got to the point where I said, I don't care anymore. That's that. Thankfully, my business partner was like, good, I've been telling you to get to this point for 5 years. And it was amazing. Within, like, it took, you know, it didn't immediately return that feeling of being jazzed about things to me or motivated. It didn't immediately come back. But after a few days, I started having new ideas about things. Some interesting outer world events in my industry have happened that certainly point to me getting a lot of business, which is bizarre. It doesn't fit into this whole, you know, economic situation, the world, like the global situation that's going on. I mean, it does fit into it, but my business growing doesn't really fit into that. And you know what? It's like, it's so hard to lose sight of the fact that all kinds of things that don't make sense, that shouldn't have happened when I've had this attitude towards my business. Like, it's all good. I'm going to be fine. I'm not going to work myself to the bone. I already work a lot, even when I'm like excited to be doing so. It's like, I don't need to go that extra couple hours into the day where at the end of the day, I'm just like, God, fuck this. I didn't even see my cats today. You know, they're at home by themselves for half the day, and I didn't even like play with them today. Fuck that. When I got to that point, all of a sudden, everything just started flowing again. And within a couple of days of that mental shift, which was really, it's kind of started, I think, 3 weeks ago, but I really felt this big shift on Sunday, this big like burst of positivity. And now I'm like getting out of bed again, excited to, you know, start the day. If I wake up and I can hit the snooze for another hour, I'm just like, nah, let me just go get like a head start on this day. And at the end of the day, when I get in bed, I feel sort of an overwhelming sense of just appreciation for my nice bed and my just everything else good. You know, that's naturally there when you're in the right place mentally. And it's really helpful if you've experienced both, then you know. But if you haven't, you can take my word for it for now. Let go of, instead of using the phrase hard work, start saying struggle, oh my God, start saying struggle and toil. If you replace the concept of hard work with struggling, but you open your mind to, even if you're feeling very unmotivated and lazy right now, open your mind to the idea that there's a whole other version of you that is not active right now, that's not lit up, because you don't know what the thing is yet that's going to do that. But, you know, don't identify with currently not feeling motivated or excited. That's not you. That's a state. That's not you. That's a mental state that you're currently in. Another mental state could cause you to feel just a boundless amount of energy towards creating something that you've come up with an idea for, and the idea that that's got to just come to me while I'm sitting on the couch. I promise there are lots of things you're not going to want to sit on the couch for. You're going to want to be an active participant in, and just try to let go of all your old ideas about what hard work means and the resistance that you feel to that, because it's just an impediment for nothing. So I don't know. I hope that helped somebody. Have a great day.